Again today. Mr. Boykins, hearing you speak about all of the support for small businesses in your district has really inspired me today. I hope that you continue to give that support to all of the small businesses operating down in District D. You know, I went out there last time that I spoke here at City Council. A person came forward and you know, talked a little bit about their disgust with a golf course being torn down. They came forward to council and they said, you know, I was never given the opportunity to speak. The community was never given the opportunity to speak. You know, I'm here today and it's just happened so fast and no one was able to, you know, express their concern with it. And I remember a council member standing up and saying, you know, I'm in my office every day. We've had these community forums. You've always had a chance to come forward to City Council to speak. And, you know, he really took offense to the fact that this person came forward and said, we were never given the opportunity to speak about this. This is my third time here at City Council. I think it's actually my fourth correction there. I've spoken to different representatives myself. I'm always available to speak. If you call me, I'm going to pick up. I'm here today to let everyone on council know again, especially you, Mr. Boykins, if you have a problem with my construction, please don't come out to my site in front of my guys and cuss me out and chew me out. Please just pick up the phone and call me. I'm here. I've been reaching out to your office. I will continue to reach out to your office. Now, I've talked quite a bit about working with the city, but I'll say this. At this point, you know, I'm not sure if the city is targeting us or if it's just dealing with the city, but we've had significant problems. No parking signs were put up on Lee Hall Street. It's the only street in the neighborhood that has no parking. Our contractors, including myself, have been ticketed for various reasons. And to say that we're not being targeted or, you know, overly enforced would be an understatement. You know, we're even getting ticketed for parking off of the street, you know, on dirt, on the sides, on the culverts, things like that. It's a real nuisance. When we do park on side streets, we've been vandalized every single time that we've parked there because South Union is a rough neighborhood, and we know that. Now, I did want to address, Mr. Boykins, last week I wasn't able to be here for the entire meeting. This one's run long as well. I don't get paid to be here. I lose money to be here, to be honest with you. But you had a number of questions, and one of those questions was, who inspects the electric in these houses? You know, to answer very pointedly, the City of Houston does. If you wanted to know specifically, it's Art Santos. He was here this morning to give you guys an idea of the inspection process that I deal with. He was also there yesterday. He complained about a singular plug. We fixed that plug. He came back today, complained about a different plug, and failed us again. We have no recourse. We have no ability to say, hey, you can't come back and just keep failing us for one plug. We'll fix them as we go. Obviously, we want to maintain safety. I don't think safety was the issue on any of these inspections, but that's what we deal with the city. You know, we have no recourse. We have no way, you know, to contest these failed inspections. And then so to hear from a council member, you know, that he's going to try and stop us, it's very concerning.
Thank you, sir. Your time has expired.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Boykins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, thank you again, young man, for coming down. Let me be real clear. I don't know Mr. Art Santos. All I know is I received a call about your so-called development in District D in the South Union area from Pastor Terry Anderson, Pastor Micah Smith, and the Civic Club president. Prior to that, the only communication I had with you was when you came down here, and I asked you respectfully, go to the community and get a buy-in, and you refused to do that. The president was here last week and said you did not do it. But I have some questions for you. Are you a member with your development, since you put 1,000% in the best development, everybody's harassing you? I just have simple questions. With these containers that you're putting up as homes, would you agree? Now, are you a member of the Greater Houston Builders Association?
No, I'm not.
Okay, the Greater Houston Builders Association is a group of builders in the city of Houston that agree to city ordinance. Okay? Sure. They don't have these kind of issues, number one. Number two, did you contact, and the answer is no, did you contact the local civic clubs, Sean, in the area which you were building these containers? Yes. Civic clubs.
Mr. Johnson, in particular, who was here last week, I did speak with him about this development. I gave him my card, asked him to call me. He still hasn't called me.
Okay, let me finish, Sean. I'm on my time. I'm on my time. You answer the question. You said yes.
One moment, sir.
You said yes. You said yes. Yesterday.
Councilmember.
I got it. Yes, ma'am.
This is a council member's time. If he asks you a specific question, please answer it, but it is his time. Thank you.
Next question. Does these container structure have a steel rooftop at the top of completion, Sean? When you finish, and if I touch the ceiling, is that sheetrock, wood, or steel?
None of it will have a steel if you're touching the
Is
ceiling.
it steel
We have a mixture
in between
of
the two
sheetrock,
floors?
wood,
That's the
and
question.
there is steel between two
Okay.
floors, yes.
If so, how do you ensure the safety of residents in the event a fire take place? How can a firefighter obtain access to the home from the rooftop? That's how firefighters get and release air.
They would follow their standard training, and they would use the tools that they have.
I was told by the
believe
fire department they use an axe. I don't think an axe can go through steel.
It's only an 1/8-inch steel.
Okay, but that's a concern for me. Okay,
We do have
is
a
it
roof
is
that's
it
wood
true,
trusses,
Sean,
by
that
the
you
way.
told a news reporter, since you done gave everybody the tape and that's okay,
Sure.
that if you didn't sell these homes at market price, you would turn them into Section 8?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
We have a government voucher in one of
let
our
me
homes
finish.
right now.
But then you also say you're trying to sell each unit for $235,000 on TV.
Each unit?
Yeah.
No.
Well,
Each
yes, you
home.
did. Everybody
Each
heard you
home,
on TV.
yes. It's a
Each
duplex.
Duplex.
It's
With
2,500 square feet
So
was
you
our
want
first or second, so
235, but you can't, since you
270.
love the community so much, you'll turn them into Section 8. And on that street, wouldn't you agree 95% of the homes are senior citizens, fully brick homes?
I would strongly disagree with that statement,
Okay, all right.
considering that both of my
okay.
neighbors are not
Okay.
senior citizens.
I have a question.
On
Many
all
of
of my
these,
homes,
many
actually.
of these railroad car containers that you're building into homes have in the past, I assume, carried hazardous chemicals, including lead paint, sodium hydroxide. My question to you is, what is the standard care implemented by EPA to turn these containers into residential structures? From a safety perspective, do you have any ruling from EPA that these containers have been clean, structurally sound, the whole 9 yards for residential use?
I think this is the root of a lot of your questions. The EPA is not the industry that regulates containers.
No, you didn't. I don't think you understood my question. I'm saying you've
Right.
taken a container that have carried chemicals in past.
Potentially.
Okay, let's assume they have not. But
We'll make that assumption. Sure.
containers, I'm assuming that they've sometime in their usage period have carried some type of chemicals. Now you're taking them and putting them in a residential neighborhood. My question to you: do you have any opinion from the EPA that said these are safe or livable uses? That's all I want to know.
I don't believe that I have one from the EPA because they're not the ones that regulate containers.
So if, hypothetical, if some type of chemical debris was still in there and it seeped out into the community, who would come and regulate? Who would have an issue with that? The city, EPA, whom?
Well, I believe the Coast Guard would be the first one to
EPA
regulate
would have an
containers that are
opinion on
coming
that, I
in.
can guarantee you that.
It's possible
Okay.
that TCEQ would probably have
Okay,
a
one
problem
other
as
question.
well.
Concerned that the weight of the structure could eventually bring flooding into communities because you study compacting heavy steel into this community. Question: as these structures place a burden on the foundation of a ground structure, my question to you is this: what is the motion to extend?
Second.
I'm sorry. We don't have 12. Is there?
Yeah, let me just wrap this question.
Anyone to make? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm
Yes,
wrapping
at the end
this.
of his time, but hold on. Is there a motion to make an exception? To extend the time? I'm sorry, yes, is there a second? Okay, we'll extend the time. Go ahead, Councilmember.
Sean, my question to you is this: the average age of these, weight of these containers compared to a brick or stucco home, similar size. Do you think there's a major difference in weight?
No,
So
there
you're
is
telling
not.
me a brick home, a siding home, to 4 steel containers, there's no difference in weight?
It would be very marginal if there was. It's actually possible that a brick home would be heavier.
Okay,
I'm not sure if you
Sean,
knew
I
that
just I
stucco
got one
is
other question.
cement.
You know that's not true, but I got one more question. Since you think these are such
Why is that not
it's
true?
my time.
Whoa,
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 Whoa, trying to
whoa,
pull.
whoa, whoa.
This is my last question.
Sure.
Since you think these are some, well, I'm not going to say substandard, some of the top of the line, best development, as you said on TV, $235,000 homes. My question to you: zip code 77019, 77056. Do you have lots in those areas to take those containers?
To answer that question, because I've thought about this one quite a bit, River Oaks is
No, you didn't go to River Oaks with them.
019.
No, you didn't go to Tanglewood with them. You came to
019.
South Union.
Councilmember,
Would you like me to answer questions, or would you just like to just yell at me? I'd like to answer this
everybody,
question.
all right. Everybody take a breath.
No problem.
Take a breath.
No problem.
Council member, you're finished? Yes? Yes?
Yes, Mama.
Take a breath.
Sure.
Council member Stardig.
Sir, I'd like to give you an opportunity to answer a couple of questions for me, if you don't mind. I'd like to know, are you within the city code as far as construction for
Absolutely.
residential?
I've met with the City of Houston's Permitting Center over 75 times for
Have you
3
engineered
homes.
these to meet all requirements with regard to safety and
Absolutely.
environmental?
I have multiple engineers who have signed off on them and personally approved them on my end as well, whether they stamped it or not. All of them are stamped, by the way. I just have extra engineers looking at them for my safety. Because if they do fall over, if they do collapse, I go to jail.
I understand. And I don't think it's a requirement for the public to understand that any builder or developer be a member of an organization like the GHBA. I think it's a good thing if you are, but it's not required. I think it's very important that, I think what my colleague is trying to convey is that he doesn't feel that your type of product is a good match for his community, which I appreciate and understand his concerns. But I think that the public needs to understand that you're going through the process of complying with codes and regulations. And if the departments are listening and they're onesying any of our builders or any of our developers that are willing to come into our neighborhoods, and they're doing one at a time and throwing it over the fence and then coming back and finding something else, I have an issue with that. So
Absolutely.
I would like to know, be involved in that part of it, because good development in our communities is important to me. So if they're doing it to you, they're doing it to someone else, and that can't be the case. So thank you very much for coming down and expressing your concerns.
Thank you. Councilmember Travis. Over here.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Mr. Krieger, here's my concern. I guess I'm looking at this picture that's been sent around, and then I'm looking on Architecture and Design magazine, and I see all these really cool ones from New York City, from Boston, from Portland, Oregon, and they look really cool, and they're getting all these wonderful design awards. So are you going to do a really cool one, or is this going to be how it looks?
I would like to do a cool one. That is not how it's going to look. On the front, it's already framed out at this point. We do a hardy plank front, and then we use the container as a side facade. It really reduces our costs, which is why we're building out of shipping containers. Is that, again, we build at about $50 a square foot, which is significantly under what market would be.
So this isn't the final product. This isn't what it's going to look like. This is just like you're framing the house. Is that right?
4 weeks in, I believe, is that picture, maybe 5 or 6.
Okay, because
by no means. I mean,
because that's what I'm wondering. Because I'm looking here and I'm seeing all these accolades done up in Boston, and it looks really cool. But and by the way, you probably could come in my neighborhood, but you got to make it 4,000 feet or more. Okay.
Right. I'm planning a 4,000
and you would have to meet the deed
container.
restrictions. So there are certain things that you're going to have because we only approve of certain. Tiles on our roofs, okay,
Exactly.
and certain siding. So because of the deed restrictions, you may not be able to get into some of the neighborhoods.
Yeah,
but I tell you what, this might work in some other neighborhoods because this looks really good.
I mean, we're trying. I'm building duplexes right now, and we're going straight to Section 8, which is very strange for a lot of builders, to immediately be able to give that kind of cost. I think you'll see the value.
Well, this looks pretty modern.
I think so.
Thank you.
Don't you? All right.
Is there a motion to extend?
And join Greater Houston Builders Association.
Is there?
It's a good one to join.
Is there a motion to extend? Motion to extend. Is there a second? Second. It's all approved? Okay, move on. Councilmember Boykins.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me just clarify a couple of things for those who's watching. Councilmember Stardick, I'm very clear that we support development in District D, and I'm kind of offended with your comment, but that's okay. Mayberry Development, Weekly Development, Perry Development, those are developers that have come and played by the rules. I've talked to the Houston Home Builders Association, Sean. All I said to you day one you came in here, go and talk to the community, talk about it. What you're not telling them is that you brought in these containers. Did y'all bust water lines coming in with this? Yes or no? Okay, you did not. Just yes or no answers. Did you mess with the power lines coming in? Okay, so everybody's okay. Everybody's incorrect. But the point I'm making to you as in Councilmember Travis, I'm so glad to hear him say he want to welcome into River Oaks. I want to see him come. I'm going to be there and hold the flag with the traffic and
Help me
watch
with those
him come
deed
through.
restrictions. I'll be there.
But what I'm saying to you and Councilmember Travis, I do welcome development. If it would have been very simple, I would have been his cheerleader if he would have respectfully went to the area. Oh, I forgot. There are no deed restrictions. That's why he went there. Let's be clear. If he would have went respectfully to the community, I'm a #1 advocate for small businesses. Ask the Pyburn store in my district. I advocate so much for it, they think I own the store. But I support small businesses. But what this young man did is came in, totally disrespected that community, and he was coward enough to tape me in a discussion he and I was having. But I'm a man. I can handle that. I just don't want you to come up here with the violins like you the victim. You need to be straight up about what you did. If you're going to play a man's game, get in the man's world, Sean. What I'm saying to you is, what I'm saying to you, Weekly Homes, Mayberry Homes, Perry Homes, they build quality homes, sir. And you're welcome to bring your home into District D. But be respectful of the community. That's all I asked you when I met with you. Respect the neighborhood. Respect the community. In the picture that we're looking at, yes, this is the beginning of what it is. But you and I have looked at them, Sean. The framing that you're putting on there, and now you're talking about releasing them for Section 8, is not something Councilmember Travis won in his district. He's fighting apartments right now. So I understand what's going on, but let me tell you this. Respect the neighborhood. That's all I ask you to do.
I would
Thank
like
you,
to.
All right. Excuse me. I am actually going to call for a little bit of civility and quietness for a minute. We have another council member in the queue, Councilmember Laster.
Mr. Krieger, there is something that in your testimony that does give me concern, and I think Councilmember Stardick has asked you about it, but I want to follow a little bit. Sure. Is it your perception that in working with city inspectors as you go through each of the stages of your development, that they are finding issues on day one, and then did I understand you to say that you fixed the issue, they come back out and they find a similar issue somewhere else that they didn't find on day one? Is that fair to say? Did I understand? You used the example of an electric.
It's fair.
Let me
to
finish.
Sure.
Did I thought I heard you say you used the example of an electric plug. You fixed the electric plug, and yet they found another electric plug that had a problem that they didn't find the first inspection. Is that?
The inspector I'm referring to I believe he has the highest complaint rate of any inspector and the lowest
particular
pass rate.
names, without giving particular names, okay,
Sure.
out of respect for people. I'm asking you the question for clarification purposes because this is not the first time that a number of council members have heard this particular complaint, that as inspectors do inspections, they'll come through and do a quote-unquote thorough inspection on day one. They'll come back to look at the issue that you fixed, and then they find a whole other set of problems, which raises problems with any builder, developer, or anybody else. If you have information about those kinds of transactions, I would hope that you would share those both with the department or with my office or Councilmember Stardig's office, because that is a larger issue and a bigger problem that we have to address in relationship to inspections as we bring new construction online, because everybody ought to be able to count on a fair inspection and also have the amount of intelligence in the inspectors to know what they're doing on a daily basis. So I just wanted to clarify that. So I appreciate your acknowledging that. Thank you.
I have several council members who want personal privilege orders, but I want to see if there are council members who want to specifically speak on this issue. Can you indicate to me if you're speaking on this issue? Councilmember Gallegos.
I just also want to add in regards to Councilmember Laster, in regards to that issue, if you have an...
Motion to extend.
Second.
I don't know.
We're good.
We're 12.
Gallegos is last.
Okay, we're good. Second?
Second.
Okay, favor, opposed, go ahead.
Thank you. In regards to an inspector coming out and asking you to do something and you get it corrected, and then they come back out, possibly a new inspector, and then they ask you to do something else, you take care of it, and then who knows, another third inspector comes out and asks you to do something else. If you could also please let me know, because that's an issue. I'm hearing that in my district as well. You know, there's a lot of new construction going on in Edo and downtown area and what have you, and I'm hearing that, and that's just costing the developer a lot of money.
It costs a lot.
Yeah, when things can be taken care of the first go
To
around.
clarify, just so that you can understand, I used the exact same site plan except for the address line for 2 developments that I'm currently doing. Exactly the same. Same size lot, same subdivision, same side of the street, same everything. One passed, one failed. So it's not just, is he breaking the rules? Is he cheating? It just is what it is. I mean, that's what working with the city is. And I'm trying very carefully to walk that line of not to offend anybody, but at the same time say, hey, I spend more time and more money on inspections than probably anything else. Inspections and plan review combined. I think on my first home I spent over 1,000 hours. I'm up to like 5,000 at this point. I mean, you would never understand how long it takes, especially for a new development built out of shipping containers that does not necessarily follow, word for word with the IBC because it's not a stick frame or concrete. You've got to really show, okay, this is what it is. This is why they wrote it this way. Do the research. Go in. I've brought them fire department articles. How does it work with burns? What are the structural components? The ISO standards. I brought so many different things. But at the end of the day, the city is not an expert on it, and they're trying to be. That's okay. I'd like them to be better at it, to be more of an expert at it. But there are major discrepancies that I've had in permitting, inspections, the entire process, working with the city. And I'm here today because they continue. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Councilmember? Okay, we're still on this subject, and so Councilmember Edwards.
Thank you. I just want to make sure I missed part of the presentation, so I do want to get some clarification. Is it that you're looking to get some type of support in relationship to what you're trying to build, or what is? I'm just trying to understand what the.
I guess to clarify, Mr. Boykins came out to my site. And,
no, I understand that portion of it, but is there something else? Because I'm hearing a conversation relating to your experience with the planning department, but are there some other concrete,
current issue, number one issue at the top of the list? They put no parking signs on the entire street. It was done through, I believe, a single complaint, and I'm still waiting on the open records for it, who just said, this is junk, I don't want them in the neighborhood. At this point, parking police are coming by constantly, all day, every day, telling us to move our trucks. We move our trucks down the street, they get broken into. We park on our lot. Well, they better be parked the right way. If they're 6 inches over the edge, they're still going to ticket us. They ticket us on culverts, on side. They're just sitting there just trying to get us.
So to that point, I am not a home developer,
sure, no problem.
But I am someone who's very sensitive about issues concerning communities, and particularly communities that are oftentimes disadvantaged communities. And one of the things that's really important, just in terms of forging a good relationship with the people in the community, is to provide opportunity for people to be made aware of what it is that you're intending to do, so that it isn't just some mysterious boxes or whatever the site looks like. I don't know, I've not gone to see it, but I understand that in the view of many people, it's something that they consider to be unsightly. My suggestion would be to engage people, be collaborative in your approach, open in your approach, show folks what your proposed renderings might look like, so that you may not have so many complaints. Otherwise, you're coming into a neighborhood, you want to be a good neighbor to the citizens and the residents of that community. So just in relationship to how well received whatever it is that you're building, is never a great idea to come in and people have are upset in some way about what you're bringing to the community, and you don't make the effort to engage them further to try to find some common ground. So that's my recommendation. I don't know a lot of the specifics, but I do know a lot about community work, and it's really important to get the residents engaged and address their concerns, because it may be something that is just an asymmetry of information, and maybe it's not. Maybe it isn't compatible with the neighborhood. And so I just urge you to engage in that way, instead of it just being a complaint issue that you're bringing to council.
If you give me an opportunity to let you know.
Sorry. Motion to extend? Second? All in favor? Opposed? Go ahead. Councilmember Boykins.
Ms. Kruger, first of all, again, I was listening to Councilmember Laster and Stardick, again, some comments that were made. I just want to be on the record being real clear. I came out, I don't know who and why you have been, in your words, if they're true, targeted. What I do for vendors in my district, if they're building whatever they're doing, I'm an advocate for them. That's what I'm down here for. So if you came through, as Councilmember Edwards just mentioned, as I mentioned to you in the beginning, through the process of respecting the community and going forward, I'm your cheerleader. I'm carrying it through for you. That's the way I operate for any vendor in District D that I'm engaged in. But you know what you did.
Did I meet with you about these houses?
And I didn't. And I asked you to go and meet with the community. Yes, you did. And I
Did
said,
they
sir,
meet with me? Because I
Sir.
called them. I have it
Okay,
on record. I have
okay.
the emails.
I'm going to actually, Councilmember Boykins, do you have any questions of this gentleman?
yes, I'm asking them questions.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Question. On the site, did Mr. Mark Lathan, who's over permitting, come out?
Yes,
when I was there?
I believe so.
Okay, I asked Mr. Mark Lathan to come out. Mr. Mark Latham then came out and agreed with you 90% to 95% of your comments. Am I correct?
Correct.
So you're telling this whole council that everybody's targeting you when the man who runs the whole center agreed with you. All I'm saying, just be upfront, because you're getting a buy-in on some false information. Because nobody's targeting you. You have to play by the rules. Again, from my perspective, representing that area, if you would have played by the rules, I would have been your number one cheerleader to make it work. Just because I may not be in support of them doesn't mean my community doesn't support them. So let's be clear about that. I don't want you coming down here thinking that this community or the city or the inspectors you talked about, if it's true, that you fix the plug and then ask you to come fix that plug again. I haven't heard that. Maybe my other colleagues have. I haven't heard that complaint. But I guarantee if you get an inspector down here, they'll give you another side to that story. But if that's the case and you play by the rules, Sean, I help every business owner as much as I can in District D.
Thank you, Councilmember. Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
And now I
everybody.
will call on Councilmember Cisneros.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to suspend the